guys. How you doing? I'm just bringing everybody on at one time. We're still missing Specs, but we'll get him on when he gets here. Well, welcome to the Comic Book Geeks podcast. This is JW Sims. Also with us tonight, we have Demon Phil.
How y'all doing?
And Jonathan Freeman Anderson.
Hello.
Who is now inside a house.
Yes, I'm officially over COVID and allowed back inside.
Allowed back inside. He was forced to live out there on that tennis court or basketball court or whatever it was for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. I didn't know that my whole life was training up for this moment to survive outside with COVID, but I'm a Boy Scout and I've been camping quite a bunch, but this was what it was all meant for. So I'm really glad I got through this, guys. Thank you for all the support.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. It's quite an experience. And so we missed a week last week. I think we just all had things going on. We couldn't get together, but we're back now, ready for this episode 3 or 2, I guess it really would be.
2.5.
Yeah, something like that. Episode 2, take 2, I guess is what we So what's been going on, guys? What have you been up to these last 2 weeks?
Go ahead, Jonathan. You got inside. You got all the info there.
Yeah, right. I made it. The door unlocked. Let's start with that. I'm just kidding. I can be very specific. I walked past 3,000 blades of grass before getting past the basketball court. I'm just kidding. It's not that.
And you counted them? You took
yeah, right. Oh my God, I'd have to be really bored. No, I did go to an event called Urban Con at the convention center. Caden Phoenix and I went out there to promote Ala Brava, but it was like really cool, bunch of lowriders on lowrider bicycles, and like a real Chicano themed kind of event, and that was pretty fascinating. But we were the only comic book company or like product there, which was really interesting. I was expecting to see a little bit more, I don't know, some luchadors or something, because there is a history of that in the comic book world. But no, I mean, so maybe next year, because it is amping up. I did do another Latin event with Caden, and I was, oh my God, she did really well, like financially. But the real thing that I realized was that there is a huge underground market of Latino artists and comic books out there that has been around for a very long time, and so that's one of the things I've been up to. And then just like working on like screenplays and getting new hats. Yeah, keep doing.
There we go.
We're thorough with it.
The bar has been set. I see how it is.
But in honor of Ray Liotta, I wore my shirt, my Goodfellas shirt today. So
Ray Liotta.
And how about you? How you been, Phil?
Doing good. This past weekend, my gal and I celebrated our 1-year anniversary of being together. It was an adventure in itself. The van decided to have some hiccups, got us there late. The hotel was a Bates Motel because online it looks great, and then whenever you get there, it's they hand out the axes and the machetes, along with your key card. That's not a key card. So we got with Priceline, and they went ahead and got us a better place, and we had a good weekend. I will say one thing, because this is part of the show. Actually, is my gal is actually fairly new to comics and to the entire pop culture industry and stuff like that. And she's never really delved into it that much. So ever since I've been doing this, she's been trying to, pick up pieces of it and get into things. And one of her things was, she goes, you know what, it's our anniversary. She said, I want to do something for you. Let's go watch Doctor Strange 2, because we haven't seen it yet. So we went and saw it. And I'm going to tell you right now, because we've already discussed that in the other one before, because I hadn't seen it before and we were talking about it. Just real quick, I just want to say that her thing on there, whenever it got done, she goes, was that all that there was to the movie? And I was like, then there it is.
Yeah. Hey, what I want.
Wow.
Yeah.
She didn't say it was bad. She just was like, is that it? I mean, is that all we're getting from this? And I really felt kind of good that she was, I have a comic book nerd that I'm in love with now officially. So she just made it even brighter then.
You have to explain to her that these movies are part of like a 25 some movie, so there's no ending to them. They got to set up for the next one.
No, exactly.
And now you have to catch all the little things in between to understand a single reference. Like if she doesn't know what that town was that the Scarlet Witch came from, then that whole conversation was literally pointless for this movie. You know, like I was trying to point out to people, like, you can watch Terminator 2 in a sense and not have had watched Terminator 1,
right, and
still see an amazing movie.
Yes.
You know, like a phenomenal film. But it's not at all possible to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp without seeing a bunch of stuff in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
And if you'd seen the end game without watching Ant-Man and this dude just appears in the van, you're gonna be like, oh, okay. So there's like this really tiny thing that's appearing out of nowhere in this old 60s van. So it's going to be one of those things that, like, I really pray they cure Alzheimer's, or it'll be a challenge from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
Exactly. I can't agree more.
Specs is finally graced us with his presence. So
yeah, what's up, y'all, man?
So we were talking because we haven't seen each other for about 2 weeks. So we're just trying to get caught up on what we've been doing. So anything exciting happened to you in the past 2 weeks?
Not really. Not at all. Like, just boring old life.
That's no fun. Well,
did you get to the movies at all?
No, I mean, I got 2 toddlers, so I can't go to the movies no time soon.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So I gotta wait till everything come out on streaming platforms, or I bootleg it, either or.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I actually got to go to a con this past weekend. Still, Three Rivers Con in Pittsburgh. Oh, cool. It was on Sunday. I went. I hadn't been out for a while, so I thought I'd get out and check out everything. I got to finally put some faces to names of people I've talked to online and people who have been on the show, the shows, and make some contacts for some upcoming shows, and it was nice.
Did you cosplay?
No, I didn't. I didn't even know I was going until Saturday night, so I only had a few hours between finding out. And but I was going to take my Thunderstrike to get signed by Ron Friends, since he's one of the creators. But then I remembered that Ron lives near me, so I can just get him to sign it whenever. So I have to carry it around the con all day because it's kind of heavy. But so there's just a couple people that I wanted to go see that I haven't seen, like Bill McKay. I haven't seen him in a couple of years, and I was amazed he remembered who I was because just haven't seen each other for 5 years or something like that. And then I got to just catch up with Rob Multeri and Sora. I can never say her name right, so I'm going to try. And a bunch of people like that who are kind of in my area. But that's the con we usually get catch up with. Grant, who is in the comments, he was there. Grant Lankert, I messed up his name too.
Now, if you saw Sora, I mean, that was the secondary to was the dog there? Was Pepper
yes,
there?
Yes, Pepper was there. I didn't see Pepper, but Chris said Pepper was asleep under the table when he went. Because I stopped and talked to her a few times, and I didn't see Pepper. But yes.
I just want to say hi to Grant and Lonzo.
Yes, Grant.
Popping into the chat every now and then. I'm going to try to get used to more like the podcast norms,
Yeah. But I forget. Oh, I don't know if you have been watching. This has been a big week, past 2 weeks or so, for stuff to come out on.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
We've had Stranger Things start. The past couple of weeks we've had Obi Wan, and now this past week The Boys season 3, and then today the Miss Marvel. The first episode of Miss Marvel came. So have you guys watched any of those yet?
I've watched The Boys.
Yeah, everything but Miss Marvel.
Yeah, pretty much everything but Miss Marvel because it was just too soon. But yeah,
I didn't even realize it was coming out today until I went to go watch Obi Wan, and then I seen it was out. So I was like, oh, I'll watch that first. So I put that on, and I went into it without much expectations. I will admit I don't know much about that character. It just never appealed to me, I guess. And I'm not a big Captain Marvel fan either. So it's just that whole. I like Captain Marvel, but no.
That's different.
Yeah.
I think if you read like the Miles Morales comics, you probably knew of her, but other than that, you wouldn't know her besides the video game.
Yeah, I don't know much of. I mean, I know she's around. I know,
She
approximately.
slaps people around.
Yeah, but the whole way that show's done, for one thing, it's really deep into that, the Muslim culture and stuff. So like, I know like the director and the writer, like everybody involved in that show, pretty much are Muslim. So they've got that feel for it, but the way that they do, like there's a scene when she's texting her friend, and it uses all this signs and stuff in the background and stuff where you can see what they're texting, but it's like it uses things in the background to actually show it to you. So it's just really interesting in the way that they do it, and the whole.
Is it like a freeform show?
Oh, you mean like Cloak and Dagger?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was quite like that.
The quality's better, I think what you're asking.
Yeah, the quality.
No, I mean it's like teenagey, like.
Well, yeah, because she's. I mean, the first episode. I mean,
but is it teenagey like CW teenagey or teenagey like Spider-Man Far From Home?
Spider-Man Far From Home teenagey.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a difference.
Of course, they're going to touch on like that teenage stuff, but
without making it too corny. Like the thing that I think DC really, I don't know if they succeeded on some level, but they also suffered on another level by having such like poor expectations of their like quality limited to whatever the CW made. When the movies came out, I do know people that actually thought, oh, it's going to be like CW, and I had to explain, like, no, they care about this in a different capacity. Like on those shows, it was much more popcorn, soap opera kind of like serials. But now we're going into a thing with like with a lot of these movies, I think really hitting the nail on the head as far as like how their original content, their origin sources, the source material, as far as like Spider-Man having a fun sense of humor, Deadpool having a sense of humor, Guardians of the Galaxy. But now if you're going to do teenager stuff, you really, I think they're doing much better than just like not at all like honoring like the themes of the comic books. Like the feeling of everything when I read a Spider-Man book is constant banter, and they I mean, just as an example, that's what I think is. I haven't seen, like I said, Miss Marvel, but I'm sure that's playing along with that new, not so new, but fairly new way of making things. Because when Thor first came out, it was all serious. Was it Kenneth Branagh? And then
he's a serious Shakespearean director.
The Boys was really fun, right?
I don't know, man. That third episode was cringe, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I gave you that one. But the first two was fun. Like I love the termite scene where he shakes him in the bag of cocaine.
Yeah. Now, did y'all watch the animated?
No, I haven't seen the animated one yet.
Okay, so you don't have to watch it to watch the third season?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't. The Boys is the one I haven't got onto yet because I usually like to binge it, and I haven't had time to start. And just
so you haven't seen either season 1 or 2?
No, Diabolical has nothing to do with the seasons, so it's okay. You can watch Diabolical and it'll be completely separate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, it's as twisted as the regular shows, just they can do animated, so they get away with even more, if that's even possible. But yeah, they do.
Wow. Well, like the Invincible cartoon or the animated Invincible came out and had similar intensity, and that's what I liked about the Diabolical animated thing. And if they can keep up with that, I mean, I met the animator for Invincible, and he was saying that like a lot of the stuff that he was expected to do was even more bloody or more brutal than he had anticipated.
Oh yeah.
Like the subway thing. Remember the subway?
Yep.
Yeah, that was crucial.
Yeah, Invincible is. We haven't really discussed about that one, but I mean, I've got several volumes of that on my own because I collect it, and it's very hard to find now, of course.
Yeah.
To finish it off, and my OCD is going insane on that one, but we'll talk about that later.
Is it an omnibus for that or just volumes?
Just
they
the
have
volumes.
omnibus, but omnibus went way up in price. I mean, stupid price.
Oh man.
Of which I don't make stupid money, so it's not a stupid option. But as far as the show going along with the book, I mean, it's doing it, and like you said, they're cutting back on the brutality that's in there. Some of the stuff that they've shown on there, yes, it's jaw-dropping. Like, you watch it going, I can't believe they just put that on an animated show. But you look at it in the book going, wow, they toned that down.
Yeah. I'm kind of wondering how G.I. Joe's going to go now that Kirkman has it.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Well, maybe we'll finally get Cobra actually being a formidable side on there.
Maybe.
So he has the books. Or he has the film rights.
No, he has the book rights because IDW's thing was up, and he bought the rights for G.I. Joe from them.
So they're gonna let people die or something. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah,
Kirkman's in charge of it now, so we'll see.
I mean, if it's anything by his previous work, but that's the thing about G.I. Joe, right? I mean, like, notoriously, nobody dies.
Yeah, in a war. Well, in the Marvel books, they did kill off some people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a big Marvel collector, and there was a storyline, I'm trying to say probably the mid to late 80s, where they captured a bunch of Joes and they put them in this pit. And there's a pit viper with a saw who was like guarding them, and he just mowed them down.
Oh, okay. That's a bit different. Yeah, no, that makes more sense. Like, you know what? If Kirkman and Marvel can team up and like have the Punisher hang out with the Joes, I think we'd have a really fun idea.
Oh yeah.
I just want to know is if he's going to reboot it again, if Larry Hama's going to come back again, because he's already gone through it twice, like taking his stories and had to restart, start it over, and then he came back with IDW. At least IDW picked up the Marvel line, like they just continued it, so he can continue his stories. But I don't know if you can have G.I. Joe without Larry Hama, because he's like the godfather of G.I. Joe.
Well, I mean, they say that about everything, though. You know what I mean? Like, Jim Henson still has his Muppets. So I think, like, if just anything, they'll hopefully train the people, or he'll find somebody that is similar enough.
Stays true to some of the stuff. Like, they want to get rid of all the crappy stuff to do the Snake Eyes. That's fine. I couldn't care less.
We could forget all about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go back to the original guy. We don't need to. Because now, since then, there's been like 2 or 3 other people playing Snake Eyes in the comic book.
Do we say hi to Max?
Yeah, we can say hi to Max.
Hey, Max. Hey, Mike. Hey, Matt.
What up? What up?
I think you're pretty cool
Matt's
too,
my
man.
nephew.
I don't know who you are, but
you don't have to say anything to Matt. He's my nephew. You don't need to say one word to him. We can ignore him completely.
Okay.
I
just like to be like Marvel and be inclusive, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I think. I mean, I will give that credit to Marvel. What I was going to ask this was because I'm catching up on my Fear the Walking Dead, and then I'm going to catch up on season 10 of The Walking Dead. And I don't know if I have to watch all the in-between things that they also include on Hulu about The Walking Dead.
No.
But I'm realizing that they are oversaturating the content from like one comic book series and this whole thing. And like I was asking Kaden, like, what would happen if your IP was purchased and then they wanted to like make video games and web series and all these spin-off things? Are you going to keep writing that? Are you or who's going to
But the sad part is that is Kirkman doing that. That's not.
But he's that hands-on.
Yeah, he's doing it to his own stuff. Like, he won't let it die.
Yeah.
Literally, that's funny.
Yeah. But he had no problem killing off the comic book that gave him all the ideas.
Yeah.
But the shows he just won't let die. Like, they've already got 3 more spin-offs planned after this final season of The Walking Dead.
I just want Rick's movie.
That's not happening. It's not happening now.
I know it's not. That's all I wanted. Like, he flies away on the helicopter, and we're all like dangling with this.
And he's going to come back before the end of the season to tie all that up. So,
I hope so.
Yeah, but because they're doing one about Negan and Maggie in New York City. They're doing one with Daryl in Europe, and they're doing one called Tales from the Walking Dead, which is going to be kind of like the end of season 10, where they just did like these standalone stories.
Well, I like the web series stuff too, like the Red Machete. I actually thought that was really cool. Mm-hmm. And some of the premises that they had with like the bikers with Negan. I mean, with Daryl. Was the claimed thing, that storyline. I mean, at some point, I would really love anybody to talk about a cure. Can we just get to the premise that there is this, or is it just like, no, we're just gonna? They
never told us in the comics what it was, or how, or if they ever cured it. It's just, it's there and it's there forever.
Right.
The only hint we have is there was a comic that came out. I don't remember exactly when, and Kirkman didn't write it. Somebody else wrote it, and it's called The Visitor, and it takes place in Europe. And aliens brought the disease.
Yep.
Oh, that is a different twist.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that. So Daryl hopefully will find the aliens.
Maybe that's why he's going to Europe. Who knows?
Yeah. All right, I can roll with that. I mean, Daryl's always been like one of the best characters. So
that was not in the comic book.
Good job, Bob.
Yeah.
Way to go. But Kirkman bought G.I. Joe, so maybe he'll focus his attention into that.
Let's hope. But I know we missed last week, so we had some books we had to review. I don't know if there's any of those books that you wanted to talk about from last week, the week we missed. Was there any of those that you really wanted to talk about? I don't even remember what they were. I don't have the list in front of me. I could find out really quick, but I don't have the list with me.
I'm looking. I'm old. I don't remember that far back.
I only know because I have them all here. So it was like, oh, geez, where did I put them?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yes, I definitely had some stuff I want to talk about on those.
Yeah, what were they? Oh, yeah, that's right, because it was the, I know which ones they were now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let me go back to my regular. I was like looking through. I was like, where are they at? Oh, yeah. So which one did you want to talk about, Phil?
So, I mean, I try to read as many of them as I possibly can, just so I can, sit up here and not look like I'm just trying to pull stuff out of the air and, magic happens that doesn't actually belong there and lies, floating from the sky and all that stuff. So I don't try to tell you all that kind of stuff. I try to tell you if I like it, if I don't, what I liked about it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, my choice for that particular week was the Firefly series, which I'm going to tell you right now.
Specs.
That was the Garan Best comic book series that we have looked at so far. I'm going to throw it out there. Garan Best.
Have you read the other ones?
Oh, yes.
That led up to that? Like all the other minis? Okay.
Yeah, this one, I don't know if y'all got a chance to read it or not, but this is more into the Jane storyline. Mm-hmm. And everybody loves Jane because Jane is very different, very himself, very
badass.
Well, yeah, but there's layers.
But it's Jane. I mean, Jane is like he has no scruples.
Yeah,
exactly. But you get to go into his childhood in this series and find out what tweaked him, what messed him up in different things. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I am hooked on this series. There's 4 books into it right now, and it left it wide open. I do like the twist of how they're changing up the crew. It's still the crew, but the way they're changing up the hierarchy in there.
Yeah.
And the fact that Mal just doesn't know what he wants to do right now, but he's being bad guy. I mean, just the regular thing they do, being bad guy, doing good things. But it was a very fun read for that series. So I don't know, did any of y'all look at that series as well?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I didn't read it, but I'm curious to see how it compares to like the previous Firefly stuff.
Yeah, it's all in that same line, like of the post-show Firefly comics. It's all in that same line. So
exactly. But if you like westerns and space and very, very sarcastic humor. I mean, dripping with sarcasm. Then that's a very good one to get into. It was a very fun read. Had a blast with it. It made me go back and watch my Firefly series all over again, and send another email to the owners of it now saying we need more again.
Yeah, Disney, we need more Firefly now.
No. We're trying.
Do we need Joss though to have Firefly?
No.
Yeah, we're trying to make sure that Disney doesn't do it though. We want to go back to the original.
Oh yeah, but it's kind of hard unless Joss kept ownership and Fox didn't.
Exactly. That's what I'm hoping for, and that's what a lot of people are hoping for. I did a lot of research while reading this and everything too, on the movies and the show, and it's just like it vanished. I mean,
Fox screwed it up from the get-go. Like they didn't. We're just going to put episodes on. We don't know what order they're in. We're not even going to put them all on, and we're going to change up the night it's on every week.
It was during the writer's strike.
Yeah.
So whenever they had the writer's strike, those last, I think, 3 or 4 episodes that are on there
never aired.
The goofiest episodes you've ever seen on there. One of them was a musical montage thing that they did on there just for fun. Had no place in
that's
it.
That's a Joss Whedon. Everything Joss Whedon does, there's a musical in it, though.
Right. But he went straight from the most brutal torture two episode set on there to a musical thing on there to finishing off the series, and we're just kind of sitting there going, what just happened to Firefly? Why are we stopping now? What's going on here?
Yeah.
And then what they did to Serenity was just like, okay, no, we can't do that.
Yeah, let's just finish this up real quick. And, the book that I liked probably the most out of the last week's was that Elvira in Horrorland.
Yes.
Oh, right.
That just made me think I was reading a Mad magazine. I don't know about you guys, but that is just like, it just is one of those, like the satire type things that, that Mad put in.
It looked a lot of fun. I scanned it, and it looked a lot of fun.
It was great. I'm interested to see in the next issue when they do The Shining, because that's just great. But the thing is, I have the other one, the series that came before that. The Elvira and what's his name? I can't think of his name now. Vincent Price.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it led into this one, so I'm going to go back and read that to see like how it sets up this, where she's stuck in these horror movies with the remote control. And I loved how they did like the original, and then they went to the remake. That was just hilarious.
Well, those classic characters are just going to keep getting revitalized. There's an Angeline movie that's about to come out, and I think like Elvira's probably going to get her due again, Vampirella probably. Like there's just enough like classic, like just history really, especially coming from Hollywood. I know that there's this just like group of individuals that somehow found a way throughout all of that like era to create like fun, ridiculous content, maybe it's the, what was the Toxic Avenger?
I was like, the Toxic. I love the Toxic Avenger. I just seen recently Tromaville. Yeah, the Toxic Avenger the musical.
Yeah, I remember. But that was like the same as the Garbage Pail Kids, right? And they had that cheesy ass movie, but I loved it. Yeah.
Was there any other? Was there any other books from last week before we get into the new books that you wanted to discuss? I don't remember what else the other ones were.
Well, I mean, the only other one that really came to mind that I was surprised by actually was the Savage Spider-Man.
Oh, so I didn't read that one. That was John's pick. I didn't.
Yeah, that was my pick.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not a huge Spider-Man fan, and I know I probably just lost viewers and people are exiting out of this and everything, but they'll get over it.
It's kind of like me and not being a fan of Superman. So
I'm just kidding.
I can see my unfriendings going right now. No, what I mean by that is I don't follow it. I'm not saying that I'm against it by any means.
It's just not your
exactly.
Yeah.
But this one took a whole different twist, and then it took Baron Zemo and beefed him up to the point where I was like, this is what we could have had, in the MCU. This is what you could have done
with Baron
in there at
Zemo.
some point.
Baron Zemo is a great character.
I love
Exactly.
Baron.
He's a dancing guy now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I like the guy who plays him in the show in the MCU.
True.
Just the characterization they used for him is not there.
Right.
It was corny, but
Yeah.
still, like, yeah, you're right.
But the whole "you will bow before me," and actually the twist of events where he uses him as his pet and everything. It is so messed up, but it fits right into what you would think Baron Zemo would actually do, especially if he were thrown into a situation where it was fight or die. Well, he doesn't die very well, so it seemed like it was a pretty good fix with that. I like the series.
Well, I always found Baron Zemo and Kraven the Hunter were two of the most mature villains for Peter Parker to face, because everybody else, most of the part, many of them are like science-based, sort of like or similar in age. Like he came across two very. It's hard to like have a sense of humor with either of those characters.
Right.
Unless you're the MCU, and then you make them dance, Disco King, and.
But Spider-Man doesn't fight Baron Zemo that often, does he?
No, he has like one-offs. But Baron Zemo has like his storylines. He comes in and out. I mean, I've got all of the Amazing Spider-Man series, and when they did Baron Zemo's storyline, I remember they did do a crossover with Kraven the Hunter on one of them. But the idea of those characters when they come in, I feel like they go out of the country or something. Like they'll leave on some like hunting expedition and then come back and mess with Spider-Man again. It's like they never fully hot. They they're always involved in like something maybe with Sinister Six. But I don't know. I just think they were very like actual. I could like believe them. You know what I mean? Like whoever created those characters, and that's the thing that has always been a issue with comic books. People be like, oh well, superhero, super villain, I can't like relate to them, whatever. But you know what we can always seem to relate to is criminals, right? And you look at like Baron Zemo, and he's clearly just that. He is an annoying criminal, but he puts his like foes to their task, That's my opinion. I'm a Spider-Man nerd, so.
I want.
But there was something to that the other day I read about.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I was reading about the idea of bringing in the.
You go ahead, man. You go ahead.
All right, I was just gonna talk about like the idea of like the Clone Saga that they were talking about, and like maybe having Scarlet Spider, and Miles, and like maybe in ways that are like back to the old style, because they wanted to maybe somebody mentioned about Andrew Garfield coming back and playing like Ben Reilly. And I was like, okay, I can work. I would rather Toby, in my opinion. But I could see how interesting now, because in the early 2000s and 90s, fans hated the Clone Saga because it just went in all these different places and it was too hard to follow. But not me. I was always right with it.
You would need to know what happened in that.
And so I could definitely see, especially with where they're going.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I actually have it right behind me.
But yeah, I was gonna say y'all talked about the Horrorland book, and I don't know who said it, but one of y'all said y'all liked it. I did not like that book.
You didn't like it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah, the real Peter Parker.
Is he though?
So Bex, what did you not like about the Horrorland book?
Yeah, what did you not like?
Just, I guess I came in there expecting something else. Then like the gags in it was like this took me out. Like,
have you never seen Elvira? Like that writer catches Elvira perfectly.
Like I think I have, but I don't know if I have. It's been a long time. It was. I don't know. Maybe I should have retouched stuff on something before I read it. But I was like, but it seemed like it was written good. It just I don't know. It kind of took me out at the same time. It felt like more like a
sitcom.
Old Scooby Doo.
That's why I said it was like Mad Magazine. It was like reading Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
And that's cool because we get your opinion on there because not that many people don't know, Elvira and don't know that style and everything. So to hear somebody who goes into it dry, looks at it, and then gets your opinion on there, that's good to have as well.
Yep.
Because you're going to have people who will look on the shelves and go, what is this? Thumb through it and go, okay, I don't know what I just thumbed through there. Either I like it or I don't. I mean, it's going to be, one side or the other. There is no riding the fence on a book like that.
Yeah.
So, like, is each book a different show?
Yeah, like the next one is The Shining.
Yeah.
That's where she's outside that hotel at the end. So the next one's The Shining. Yeah, so I'm interested to see like which other ones they're gonna do in this series.
Okay.
Maybe they're working their way up through them, like throughout, like because Psycho
so you're gonna hit Scream, Elvira and Scream.
Yeah, or something like that. So
they're all basically like one shots, even though like it tags on to the next one.
Yeah,
last page.
Yeah, she gets moved to a new movie at the end of each.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's fun. I mean, like when I saw WandaVision, right? Like every decade they would move. I'm like, oh, that's my so-called life from the '90s. Oh, that's the Modern Family in the 2000s. So I think that's a real fun concept, especially with a character that Elvira like obviously needs to be reminded. No offense. But like they're gonna come back around and people are gonna be like, oh, I know that movie, and now I might have to look up that character.
Yeah. All right. Well, for this week we had 3 books for the group review. First one we'll touch on is Justice League: The Road to Dark Crisis. This was done by a bunch of different creators. It's kind of like an anthology book. It's, I guess, the road to the Dark Crisis, which is DC's next big crisis event. So, at the start of the book, the Justice League is dead. They just had that big event, the death of the Justice League. And this is a bunch of little stories showing different people leading into it. I thought the first 2 stories, the Nightwing and John story and the Flash story, I liked those 2. Yeah. The rest of them were kind of like they relied on you knowing something. Like it seemed like you had to read like Crisis on Infinite Earths to know who Pariah is. Like,
right.
If you've never read that book, you have no idea who this guy is and why it's important that he's alive again. And the last one with I can't think of her name. Nocturna. Yeah, Nocturna. Like if you don't know who that is, you have no idea why that story is what it is. So it was not a good jumping on point for this. Like, so I mean, for it being their next big event, they'd probably want readers to come in. You would think that they would have it more open for new readers, not so much happen to know what's gone on before.
I mean, that's kind of that's how they do things a lot, though, right? Like you'll end up seeing something and it'll have like in the corner related to the Onslaught, freaking storyline, and then have to go buy that too.
But at least they used to put those editor notes in there. They don't do that anymore, so you don't know where you need to go look to find this.
It was 2 in there.
Yeah, both
there was the Infinity Earths one.
The Pariah one says to do that. Like I do remember it said takes place in, Crisis in Infinite Earths or something like that.
Yeah, but like to me, I've been trying to keep up with DC. So like the Nocturnal one, if you was reading Suicide Squad, you know where that came from. I guess the Aquaman books, what's going on with, Aqualad, I guess he is. But
is it Aqualad in the Dark?
I don't remember. No, I can't think of what his name is. It's the kid from Young Justice.
But he's an Aquaman now, is what he was saying.
Yeah, he's Aquaman now. Yeah.
Got you.
But the 2 stories that took me out was the Flash story. Like, it's pretty pointless to me. Like,
I agree. I mean, I got the ending though.
Yeah, but it just why? Like, it was weird because
I think it's to show that how they can continue on with the main characters gone. Like he's gone through it before when Barry left and he was the Flash. So he's trying to like teach young Wallace the same thing. Like we have to carry on even though these people are gone.
To me, it's the same thing I ran to with the Green Lantern thing. Like Wiley and Hal both been on Justice League, so it's like it's nothing like they're not really panicking per se about it, but it's just like them two stories really didn't hit home. But I didn't like the Flash one, but the Green Lantern and the Aquaman story was pretty cool. The one that was pointless to me was Spoiler, because how you can see like everybody like Nightwing, Batman, John, Superman. You see all that.
Yeah, like
Spoiler. Like
she's Batgirl.
Spoiler gonna take like.
Yeah, she's
it
a
no
Batgirl.
point.
Like the other four.
It should have been a different character to fight not Turner than Spoiler.
Yeah, it would make more sense.
Like it could have been Blue Beetle to take over Cyborg's spot, something like that. It just make more sense because I don't know.
Well, I will say I did like that because like I agree with you. The Nightwing story was kind of like nostalgic. I can see why that was there. But the one with the Flash until the very end, it felt like it reminded me of like that's the Spider-Man Far From Home, like right after Endgame, where like he's like reconciling with all the Avengers being gone, but still having a sense of humor, and that's what like the Flash was really getting at, where it's like I got to be the happy one, and still show that there's hope in this world. And then like I don't know, every time Oracle has to talk to Batgirl, I just have to assume Oracle's pissed. You know what I mean? Like that's supposed to be her job.
Well, she gave up being Batgirl.
I know. I'm kidding.
She runs all three of them. Like
she runs the Batgirls.
Yeah.
Oh, she's okay. So she's the boss. She's like Bosley. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
That was a good one. I like that one.
See, another thing I didn't like. Okay, you got Aqualad there. Then Tempest. Tempest was just on the Justice League not too long ago. So like, why
isn't he though with the Teen Titans? He's with the Teen Titans Academy though now. With those guys.
Well, no, he was just there for his birthday.
Oh,
he's with the Justice League Odyssey or whatever, the one that's the one with Dark Side. That's who he's with.
So what you're saying, Specs, is like it's not really like they're dead. It's just like the people whose library cards or won the Kickstarter account, though they're dead. But still, most of the Justice League are around on some level. Like anybody, if I have to like sign an application, I could be.
Well, I think the only three that are gone really are Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Like the founders are like Like I said, I've been reading it, so like I didn't read the previous book, so I don't know how they died or whatever. But just standalone books, like I've been reading Titans, I've been reading Aquaman.
Aquaman,
Suicide Squad. I've been reading those books, so some of these events, where did it take place at? Like I think in Batman, there's 3 Batmans right now. There's
and the thing with DC Comics, with DC does this thing now where they don't have to be in continuity. Yeah.
They don't need continuity anymore?
That's the way that they've been doing it. Like there is no real continuity between the titles. They can kind of pretty much be their own thing.
Do we have an interview, by the way, tonight? Because it sounds like a good transition into the Immortal. If none of the DC characters die, then that's exactly
what they kind of touch in that book. Remember, they all keep saying, like, Dick keeps saying, well, remember, your dad died and he came back. Bruce died and he came back. Barry died and he came back.
Speaking of that, they show him thinking about Alfred, but didn't Robert deal with that in his book right now?
Yeah, but I think the point was because he says, but there are some people who don't come back, and then it shows his parents and Alfred, and he said yes, because his parents and Alfred haven't come back.
Yeah, but just remember, you're talking about DC. DC stands for discontinuity.
I mean, Marvel could just be the multiverse now, but like they mentioned the multiverse in this book too, right? The Dark Crisis.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, why isn't that just now everything? Like the solution for every little moment where they're like, oh, Alfred's dead. Well, Well, that's DC's thing. They're like, okay, things get out of hand. We're going to have a crisis event and bring everything back to. Yeah. Go to the Butler planet and go get Alfred from the Butler planet. Like just.
That would work. All right.
I mean, I also was thinking about that too. Like during Doctor Strange 2, I mean, just to come back around really fast, that it would have been so easy, especially how desperate Robert Downey Jr. is, just to come back for just a quick moment where he's buying a hot dog, off, off of Bruce Campbell, and everybody be like, oh no, it's another universe, Tony, and nobody would have tripped. And and I'm sorry, I love that they got Stan Lee coming back and all this, but I really wouldn't give a shit if they brought back Robert Downey Jr. Like,
all right. With that, we'll go into our next book that we read. NEWTHINK 1.0 from AWA Upshot. Greg Horowitz was the writer, and Mike Diodato Jr. Does the art. So we'll start with John. Are you muted? No. What did you think of this book, John?
Well, it was definitely cynical. Beautiful. I actually really liked the artwork on the project, but this particular book, I mean, because I just finished watching, was it Love, Death, and Robots?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it's called, and that had a similar vibe to this. Like, it's very Matrix-esque, and I go through the whole thing, and this where all the screens take over, right? Yeah, and it's like, it seems like a whole self-contained book. Like, I don't see how there's going to be a sequel to this.
No, it was a one-shot.
Yeah. And really, I enjoyed like the panels. What I was looking at was how they laid the panels out on this book was really interesting. And overall, I was just, for some reason, it got me back into like my my old horror zone of like what would happen if Y2K was real, and like if the machines. But then again, it is like the exact thing that everybody like sits there and talks about, but doesn't do anything about. I mean, look at us, we're on screens now. But the point of it is just being like the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was proving to the world he didn't exist. Well, the greatest trick the robots ever did was subjugating us to their, electronics without a whimper from any of us, really, except for the tinfoil hat kids.
Yeah. Well, actually, I just looked up on previews to check and see, make sure I had my information correct. It actually is 1 of 5. It says the Black Mirror style anthology examines the rapid proliferation of technology, the culture, and political polarization of the country, and the technocrats that have driven us to such extremes of thought that we need to present the present as something futuristic. Each of the 5 is a standalone tale with its own art team. So it's 5 issues, but they're not interconnected, and they all deal with sort of that same type of.
I hope they're not all hopeless.
Yeah. But when I was reading that, I was like, wow, that is like this world completely. Like, that's it. Yeah. It's just a way to take this world and like say it's aliens that are our phones and TVs and computers are aliens, and it's their way of taking over the world. And it was,
I mean, that's a Doctor Who episode. Like, oh, look, there's another screen.
Yeah.
What did you guys think?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. I was busy messing with my screen. Hang on a second. Let me get in here real quick.
There we go.
I have to check in. If I don't check in, it gets mad at me and starts beeping and yelling at me and stuff.
Exactly.
No, I love the way that the comic is set up. He hit the nail on the head with, the panels being the way that they were. It draws you in, but it gives it reality. It takes something that you go into to get a fantasy, a way out of reality, and then drags you back into reality in
just hits you over the head with it.
Oh yeah. And you look at it going, I don't want it to get to those last few pages. We don't want to get there. We want to stop right here and throw out the last few pages. We're good with that. Yeah. But unfortunately, those last few pages will be hitting us before you know it. Mm-hmm. I'm not spoiling it. Y'all need to see it. Y'all need to read it, look at it, get it. But it's definitely one of those that takes what we're doing right now and takes it to a whole different level.
Yeah.
It's just really ironic. Like, that book is totally a big, like, holding the mirror up to us kind of thing, and then like, where is it going to go, and how much faith do you want to put into people like Elon Musk, and that's one of the things I got out of the book was like, there's this part where they're talking about like combining humans with the screens and all that. And I'm like, all right, he just said on some podcast that AI is like the scariest thing. And the only thing he talked to Obama about when he met him was AI. Right. And then on another note, he's building AI devices. All right. Like, what is the self-driving car but an AI device?
Yeah.
And so I'm like a little conflicted here. If at the end of the day, this is all just some marketing ploy for us to like, literally implant screens into our bodies on some level, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I think this comic book. I mean, I hope the other 4, if we're going to keep maybe reviewing them, you know, go along with some of that attitude, because it won't. If I was up to like the writers on this series, it wouldn't just be the one billionaire. I'd all right. So on this issue, we're going to deal with Bezos and his obsession with penis, and show like how the screens have evolved under Amazon to just all about be the dick and balls. You know, we want the all the trees to look this way. We want all the, you know, everything, because that would be the hilarious side of this. Sorry.
And how about you, Specs? What did you think of
it had me
NEWTHINK?
hooked, man. I really sped read that. Like, I was like, okay, next page, next panel. But what got me though was all the product placement in it. How they swap all the names out, all these different things. We
So he
look
can't
at
get in
every
trouble
day.
for
It's human pack mule.
human
pear,
pack mule.
what else is in there?
Worst buy.
iPair.
Worst buy. Yeah.
Hair.
Yeah, it was all kind of stuff like reading that and looking at each little panel and pictures, then seeing that small little tidbit. I was like, oh man, like little Easter eggs for me almost.
I always liked Diodado's like that realistic style that he has. Like it looks like he takes photographs and just like edits them into art. I don't even know.
Yeah, put a little filter on it.
Yeah, that's what it looks like he does. I don't understand it. But I want to see how the rest of this anthology series plays out and like what other topics that they touch on, and be interesting. And I'm going to look this one up because I want to make sure I get it right.
Did y'all read
the Phalanx?
6 Guys, 5 Bullets?
Oh, you can talk about that while I look this up. I know what book it is. I just got to make sure I have the right stuff for it.
Did y'all get a chance to check that out?
Yes.
I didn't. I was busy.
I checked it out.
So like I thought it was great how each chapter, I think it was, he explained each person at the table. And I love the build up, but the end, it just the ending tanked for me. Like I was there. I was pushing like 72 pages. I was like, okay, I'm gonna push through this because I'm really into it. I want to see how this happened. Then they gave us that flat ending. And I was like, really? That's how y'all gonna close it out? But like, I mean, I don't think I ever read a detective comic, really. But that was great. Like I love how it pieced together, it explained in detail people backstories. You know, artwork was minimal, but it was still good for the book. It's just that ending, just it's like, what? That's how you close it out? It's like, well, we need to finish the book. Like, okay, the cop did it. Woohoo! You know.
Well, it had that Frank Miller minimalist, art look on it, which drug me in because it gives you that very gritty, detective feel on there.
Noir,
so,
kind of.
Exactly. So you delve more into it that way. But I agree with what you said because you go along and it's into page 72 or so, and you're like, I can do this. I can finish this out. I just want to see who did this thing. We're good. And then as soon as you find out, you're like, did I seriously just go all the way through here to find out that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a letdown in a big way because it had built up so much, and the way they had done it, and the different chapters and the different setups that they had done, the different it's almost like they were looking at it from different angles on every single chapter, which was pretty cool. So I kind of figured in the last part of it they were really going to just do a full 360 on there to look around the whole thing, and well, they had one direction they were looking at and went that way, and they closed it out and said we're done, and I was like, well, I guess we are.
That was it. Yeah.
So the other book we had to review this week was The Phalanx from Image Comics, and this was a one-shot from Jonathan Luna. And it says he's been inspired since 1992 by the series that launched Image Comics. Writer and artist Jonathan Luna from Alex and Ada and 20XX creates an homage to honor its 30th anniversary with the Phalanx. And it's about a mercenary in modern-day Los Angeles chases a mysterious villain and finds herself going through a portal and running into a famous superhero team. They realize they have a common goal. I don't know what I expected from this book, but That was a terrible one shot. Let me just. There was nothing else to say. It was like, what's the point of this book? Like, there was.
So is it like a one shot? So
yeah, there's a one shot. There's no continuation. Yeah. It was his homage to Image Comics from the 90s.
So that's it. That's all it is. It's just.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he nailed it. I mean, if that's what he was going for.
Yeah.
I mean, and I mean, my favorite part was Loch Ness or whatever. Like, my brain just instantly went 1990s, younger version of myself. Titties.
When I was like first looking through it, I was like, wait, is that a woman or is it a guy with really, I'm like, oh my God, it's a woman.
Yeah, it's a woman.
It's a naked woman. Yeah. A giant She-Hulk.
It was a 90s version of that drawing too. Like it screamed, what was it, Savage Dragon? Like the,
yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever. That was a silly concept. But yeah, at the same time, you're like, oh, okay, so maybe they're starting something here. You just told me that's a one shot. I just feel like the guy wasted his time. He set up an actual whole team for nothing.
Yeah, I expected like it'd be like a one shot. Then if we liked it or waited, it'd probably be some more in depth stuff. But you said that's a end all be all. Like
that's how it's meant to be. So I don't know. Like it doesn't even have an ending. Like
no.
Well, I mean, it's similar to the Dark Crisis endings in those stories.
But we know we're getting like another 6 months of stories from DC.
Yes. Yeah. At the end of that book, it's just like, and we could just imagine, and then we go into our own imagination land song. And
yeah.
So speaking of Dark Crisis, so do y'all think this gonna lead into the future state stuff, or what's going on?
I have no clue. The future state stuff is so confusing because some of it they've already like caught up to, like in Teen Titans Academy. They've already got to the future state stuff, whereas other ones they didn't.
Like, yeah. So, but then the future state Gotham is still going on.
Yeah. So, like, how far in the future is this future state?
No continuity whatsoever. Apparently,
I can't remember.
It's stupid. Anytime they
you guys want to see something cool, I got this it was called San Diego Fan Fest or something like that. It was like a Comic-Con, and Kruger was there, and he autographed it.
Let me put you.
You can see it. Yeah, this was him doing Moon Knight. He wrote all the the X universe, the Earth X, and worked with what is it? Alex Ross on like the Kingdom Come and stuff like that, But man, one of my favorite artists and somebody that was a real influence for me was this whole series, the Marvel X, series, and what that said to me about the potential for like them to go into other more awesome directions with story, but also with art. Like I couldn't believe how great Alex Ross's work was. In this stuff. When it first came out, I was like, I'd never seen a comic book like that. I have never seen anybody. And like then I looked into. He uses models, and I'm trying to get the.
He gets people to pose for him for photos, and then he.
Yeah. Well, it's him for the Joker one, where it's Joker holding Harley Quinn.
Yep.
That's actually Alex Ross.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, and so I'm like, I want that one. If I was to get like a an actual print of some kind, this print I got at that one event, and I actually encourage people, if you don't want to get like really overwhelmed with like San Diego Comic-Con, check out the San Diego Fan Fest. It's like it's similar. It's a convention, but it's a bit more low key, downscale, and way more hardcore. Like older fans of like Star Trek and Doctor Who are all walking around. Lots of little like Klingons and stuff. So they did the 100th anniversary of Gene Roddenberry also. So sorry.
That's all right. But we're going to go ahead and bring on our guests for tonight. This week we have with us from Finish Line Comics, the creator of the Immortal Era, and from the creator of Finish Line Comics himself, Edward Davis. So welcome, Ed, to the show. How you doing today, Ed?
Good. How are you guys doing?
All right. Let me fix our screen a little bit. There we go. Sorry we had you in the back room so long. Sometimes
That's all right. I was just listening.
Some of us
seeing
get
what books to
long-winded.
avoid, what books to pick up. Sounds like the one shot is one to skip for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I was ashamed I picked that one for this week.
I lived through Image in the 90s. I don't need a rehash of that.
Yep. Yeah, I own like almost probably 6% of 90s Image.
Oh yeah, it was a new number one every week that you'd never see a number two of half the time.
So it's like indie comics today.
Homage. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Ed has this book that I love. I don't know if you guys got to read it.
I got to read it.
The Immortal Era.
I read a few issues. I didn't read all 6.
So in the Immortal Era, see if I can remember this right, because I haven't read it since you were on the show last year, pretty much.
Okay.
There is no one can die in the world. There's actually a character whose head gets chopped off, and his head is still alive.
Yeah.
And so they go on a mission to find death. Is pretty much your concept for the book.
They're trying to find a way to bring death back, and that kind of brings in the mythological death into the story, and they're out hunting to try to. It's hard to say it without spoiling things. But yeah, they're just basically out seeking death in any way that they can, so that they can bring it back into the world, because they realize immortality's way overrated in this world. It's not a bunch of vampires that are.
Oh no!
They're living happily and old and completely miserable.
Yeah,
it's a lot more realistic. If like I don't know if you're a fan of Torchwood or Doctor Who, but there was a Torchwood Miracle Day where everybody stops dying with Mekhi Phifer and all that. But with this, your version of it makes so much more sense. Like there's got to be cannibals, you know?
Oh yeah, because the resources are going to go away so quickly. I mean, the world's going to become over polluted in no time, and then they're going to just whatever can be consumed or eaten is going to be eaten, which leaves one thing left: the humans. That
Yeah. When I interviewed them the first time, the twist at the end of that first issue, it's like, of course, that's exactly how it have to happen. That's exactly like.
And it's gross, but not too overwhelming. You know, it was. I think you did a really great job on this book, man.
Oh, thank you.
I like the elements that keep getting added in throughout the 6 issues that are there. So, again, I'm not spoiling things, but you've got, of course, we just talked about the ending. We know what that is on there. I believe it was book 2 is whenever you have the ending with a whole new group that's involved. That threw me completely off. I saw that and I was like, well, sure, let's throw these in as well and see what happens. And at first I wasn't expecting it to meld, but the way that it melds in there and actually it almost like simmers for a few issues and then rears its head up again in a big way. It's a good series. I was really interested in this, seeing how it's going, because you get invested in the characters while the story is building around the characters as well. So it was done very well in that I actually enjoyed going all the way through 6, and I'm looking forward to more as soon as it comes out.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's the thing. When I brought in magic into the world, I had to find a way to bring it in there, and it's just like you say, it kind of sits dormant for a while. It's like, all right, here's issue 2. I'm going to introduce magic and those kind of concepts, but all the while I've already mapped out and knew exactly where those characters had to kind of pop back into this world. So. Yeah, that's the thing, is you keep bringing more in. And now for me as the writer, it's like, all right, I don't want any of these pieces to feel like a waste of time. The biggest series I look at for just wasting our time ridiculously was Lost. It's like, okay, let's do one more mystery, and let's solve none of them. And like, wait, what the hell? I still don't get what the smoke monster is. And now you're bringing the hatch in. It's like, is any of this shit going to pay off? And the answer is minimally, a few pieces here and there.
You know what the best thing about Lost is? You watch the first episode and you never have to watch another one.
Yeah.
They tell you in the first episode. They tell you in the first episode that they're all dead.
Yep.
Yeah. And you go on for another 6 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you find out they're all dead.
Yeah. Like, wow, you gave that away quick and easy.
Yeah, but no one caught it. Like, no one Because that lady's crazy. Her husband just died. Obviously, they're not dead. We're all here. The other people that died.
Yeah.
I did want to say,
they're all dead.
in regards,
I'm sorry,
so what's your plan for like the run of the series? I mean, is how many more issues are there? Is it a mini series? Is it going to go ongoing?
It's an ongoing series. My thought is at least 3 6-issue story arcs to tell the full story, and then pieces in between where it could end up being 30 issues when it's all said and done. But for I think the main story arc, I can tell that in about 18 to 24 because I fully mapped it out. I wanted to know exactly where it was going because you can get to the point. I mean, I think of Walking Dead, just like, all right, especially the series, like let's just spin our wheels and like no movement. So I kind of I wrote the ending, so I knew exactly the pathway I had to take to get to that ending. And you know, when you're doing it through indie comics, it's not going to be fast, but you know, there's plenty of mainstream writers who work pretty slow as well. So my goal is to just keep new issues coming. So my readers realize, okay, I'm not here to, you know, I'm not going to get you an issue a month. I don't have that kind of power, but if I can get you one every 3, at least, you know, you're reading, you know, a piece, you know, half of a story arc every year. And that's kind of my goal. And issue 6 just got delivered to the house basically. And issue 7, we finished all the artwork for it and it's going into color. So my next goal is to put out the trade in August and issue 7 together. So people don't think, okay, I've been reading it all along. I don't need a copy of the trade. I want to keep the series moving. So I'm putting them
digital, so I am probably going to get the physical.
We're all excited, it seems.
Yeah. Because it was probably almost a year ago when you were on the show with me and Katrina. I think 4 was just out, 3 or 4.
I think, that was for 4. So I've had a couple new issues since then. And that's just my goal is to, you know, I'll never be as fast as people would like because, you know, there's even a bi-monthly is just a really hard task to pull off. But if I can give 3 new issues a year, I'll feel pretty good about that.
I mean, if we had Marvel or DC money where we could pay everyone to do everything for us, then we probably could. But when we're doing it all ourselves and having to do Kickstarters and wait for, you know, publisher or printers to get us stuff on, we don't have that.
This was the first time I ran into technical difficulties with the printer. The printer was great. I mean, they worked with me, but I got the proof in the mail and it had some glitches that needed to be fixed. So that threw the timeline off a little bit. So now is just the point where I was down with COVID for about 10 days. So now I'm finally clear. So it's mailing books. Just, you know, how many trips to the post office can you do in one day?
Yeah, I think I missed it, but how far you think you're gonna go with the series?
My thought is at least 3 story arcs of 6, so at least 18. I mean, I have a big 30-issue plan, but I think I can tell the full story in 18 and not compromise the vision, because that's one thing a lot of indie writers do, and I find myself guilty of it too, is you can slow your pace down, but I need to find that balance between, all right, this is just a world building issue. This is going to give us some pieces of the backstory and what's going to keep everything moving forward. So I think 3 big arcs could really tell the story, because the second arc I've outlined all of it. I've written up to number 10. And then the third arc, I've already mapped out the aftermath of what's going to happen in that second arc and what it'll lead to in the overall story itself to lead to that ending that's already written.
Okay.
Nice. I mean, that's one thing, you know, you were talking about, you know, the speed being something that you feel like you're faltering on. Don't ever look at it that way. Coming from an indie standpoint, and this is me being a fan, follower, marketer, influencer, whatever you want to call all the different hats I wear.
We get the fun.
Yeah, I put it in there.
Ed does. I don't think Ed realize he wears a lot of different hats on the show.
Yeah,
literally.
Okay.
Yeah, literally. Jonathan's keeping up.
It's all hat change time. I got to go find a new hat.
See,
exactly. You know.
But it's not the speed; it's the consistency.
I got you, Specs. I got you.
Yes, next thing get to see that one. So there we go.
But so as long as you have consistency in your work and you're living by the old school morals in what you're doing and producing and fulfilling on time and keeping up, keep the communication, then everybody will be there to follow you as much as you do. So, I mean, as long as you keep doing that, you've got the opportunity to turn fans into followers on that.
Yeah.
And everybody knows the difference between a fan and a follower. A fan is somebody who will come up and spend the money, which is good, great, and wonderful. A follower will come up there, spend the money, and then talk to everybody they know down the street, up the street, around the block, across the world, whatever they've got access to, and tell them they got to get on this project. That's that's the ultimate goal, is to get the followers section.
Because if I want to tell a long story, I need people in and get every single issue. Because if they just say like, hey, I'm going to give number 1 a try, I'm like, oh, I'll get to it when I can get to it. And before you know it, here I am on issue 6, and they still barely read number 1, where you get those ones that as soon as it gets in the mail, they're opening it and eagerly reading it. And then they're telling their friends, because I have a couple that came from Europe, and one of the guys from Europe told a friend, and who told a friend. So I end up sending 4 or 5 packages to Belgium because of a little bit of word of mouth. And it's kind of crazy to think. I mean, it's not huge, but the fact that it's spread to just even more than 1 is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's definitely one of those series that kind of spans over different things on there, and you're definitely dealing with the character building, which I find is very interesting. And again, I'm not doing a spoiler thing on here, but the way that you're building and taking seemingly weak characters, giving them strength, but not super strength. You're not giving them, all of a sudden they can leap over tall buildings and run over railroad tracks or whatever they do, and those, other things that they got out there. Yeah. But you've got it where they're actually got internal power that's starting to come out, but in a realistic way. And they're on that. And
they have flaws.
Yes.
So they're not like these perfect characters. Like,
it's not some perfect little family. I mean, you kind of look at, and I've been teaching for plenty of years, so I've seen how siblings bicker at each other, and I have my own kids, and you kind of see how that works, and you're like, okay, this is still just a family unit. They may live underground in a subway, and they may be adopted by someone who saved them from cannibals that wanted to eat them, but in the end, it's just a family, and they're going to function the same way a family would. So that's my goal, is to keep that family intact, even though it's kind of a crazy circumstance to try to have a family.
It might not have been intentional. I don't know. I do see influences, like in just because of their popularity. I could see like the family nature of like the Umbrella Academy, and then you've got this guy that collects these 3 just babies, and their story specifically. Could each of them have their reason to be a villain? Let's say if they wanted to twist away from the unit, and yet. You do it in such a great way that I genuinely care for the characters. And so when they make certain choices that, crap, that reveals this character's flaw, and we thought all along they wouldn't betray each other or whatever it is, I'm trying not to spoil it as well. But in the nature of how you revealed certain things, it was exciting, and like a lot of times, especially after so many books and movies and TV series, it's a jaded audience, and I was surprised, like some of the twists that you did and some of the parallel storytelling you did was really well done, where it wasn't like, damn it, now I have to deal with this, and for the next few panels till we get back to the other story, I want to get, you had them both equally interesting. There was one character that reminded me of Into the Badlands, that show, and Sonny's got like all these like cuts on his back representing who he is, and I don't want to spoil it, but like
and I know it's hard because I know exactly what you're talking about, but you're trying to keep it spoiler free, which I appreciate.
but the nuance is what I wanted to say. I appreciate it because I could take it and I could say, oh, okay, cool. He didn't take it with this character and make it completely out of place or out of the world that we're living in. It melded, and it was because of how you laid out the backstory in such a fun way that like it kept me wondering how you were going to, because I'm not dumb, you know, we got like a supernatural element to it here. And you played it all out going, there is no way that supernatural element isn't going to come back in at some point, some way, you know, and it was really well done in the respect where I forgot, you know, and then when it popped back in, I was like, yeah, sorry. I just saw Doctor Strange too. This is exactly what's going to happen, you know. I hope that made sense.
Now,
that's the thing that covers give spoilers too, because it's like, all right, we have a major character coming back and we put him on the cover. It's like, all right, well, it's kind of a spoiler. People know that character's coming back, but it is a cool cover, so that's where it's hard. But then, you know, it's kind of the world you live in where it's like, all right, it gives a little spoiler, but in the end, you have to imagine that if I put a character in, they're going to have some consequence later on.
Now, as a creator, what creators you look for when you write in, or what stories you pull from to do your work? Like, what inspires you to write the way you do?
I think the main people that inspired me to write a comic like this were Neil Gaiman and Garth Ennis, because I looked at those as the kind of creators that didn't just tell like the villain of the month fight. They had one story to tell, and they told it over as many issues as they needed to tell it. And then when it was done, it was done. Now, Neil Gaiman releases sideways stories, and we get prequels and little flashes of things, but his main story is told. It took 75 issues, and when those 75 issues finished, that was the story in its entirety. And that's what kind of opened my eyes, because, you know, like you were saying before, like DC has no continuity. They just do what they want because their characters are eternal. They're not going anywhere, but they're just reinventing them every 5 seconds. Where something like Sandman, it had a story to tell. It told it, and that was that. A story like Preacher, same thing. He had his story to tell, and when he was done, he was done. It wasn't like, okay, well, people like the characters. Let's do a Cassidy spinoff, and let's do, you know, I mean, granted, there's plenty of stuff that comes out. Watchmen's another one. Yeah. I mean, now you get them spun off, but you look at the core story, and when it was done, it was done. So yeah, those were the two that really influenced me. And when I was younger, I mean, I read all kinds of comics. I had to live through the 90s, and I think what it made me look at was different storytelling, because in the 90s everything was about the crossover of the month. Like, okay, it's Nightfall, it's Apocalypse, you name it, it's just another big thing that's going to make me buy these fringe titles that I don't actually want, so I could get 4 panels of the main story arc. So my writing came from a place of, I don't want to fall into that category. I want to tell Secret Wars. There's so many. And I could dig if I pulled out a long box. I mean, I fell for all of them, and you know, it's like, great. I'm going to read Birds of Prey for 3 new pages in the Nightfall series. That, you know, they now with the collected versions, you just wait when you can buy the trade, and you don't have to sit there and try to hunt down. Oh, that one is sold out, and now I'm going to have to pay double price for it. I remember that was, you know, the hunt in the comic shop back in the 90s. Like, crap, that one piece that I needed for the Nightfall series was the rare one, and now I can't get it. So
Shadow of the Bat,
I wanted to just tell a story without all these, you know, wild crossover pieces.
With the
I hear you. I did that with the
Kelly
Onslaught
Jones
series. I did that with the Age of Apocalypse series. I did that with the Secret Wars. I went nuts trying to find Secret Wars 1 and 2 and all related issues connected to the 80s, not the new Secret Wars. I'm trying to do that now, but the older one. And in that Secret Wars 2, as corny as it was, with Michael Landon being the Beyonder and coming down and all that, there was these one-offs. Like one was like the Heroes for Hire issue, and you saw that little strip on the edge of the corner there saying, you know, a Secret Wars story, and you open up, it's one friggin' panel.
It was ridiculous how they did that.
Yeah, they still do it.
Oh yeah, and that's why I'm in the wait for the trade mentality, which so many people still are, even in indie comics. Since I put out issue 1, I get people asking, "Oh, when's the trade coming?" Because I don't buy single issues.
Yeah, they want to get a whole story.
It's like, I'm publishing this thing independently. I hope issue 2 comes out, let alone the trade.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I got asked that recently by my book. It's like, when your trade coming out, like, I'm still trying to put out the issues. Like,
yeah, it's like you don't know what a battle it was to get this one issue on the table, and you're asking me about a trade. Like, yeah, I've written all those issues, but let's say 5 years from now, so I can give you a safe ballpark. And now I actually have a date. So, you know, the last con I did, I still was getting asked that same question. So I'm like, August, sign up on my mailing list and back to Kickstarter.
Yeah. You go to cons and do panels and
I
stuff?
do, yeah. The last one I just
what's your next
did,
con?
My next con is going to be, it's like the AVOX it's called, and it's for voice actors, but they've been sending me emails saying we think you do well here because it's by the same people that do LA Comic Con. So I'll be at that one. I'll be at a horror con in LA in November. I'll be at
So you're both.
I'll stop by in November. I'm in LA.
Yeah, he's an LA guy. So
yeah, so LA will be the horror con, and that one. Someone came up to me at WonderCon and basically said, "We think you'd be good for our horror con because that's where my book being nice and bloody fits right in for the horror crowd." For that one, I have to refine my pitch to just to sell the blood. It's like, all right, let me sell the horrific aspects of this.
It's so horrific. Right. Good job. I think you did that.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing comics?
I started in 2019, but this story itself goes way back to 98. I started writing it as a novel. So basically I noted out the full novel, and that I've just been taking those notes and moving them into comics. So it was actually like 2018. The librarian at my school was a Kubert School graduate. And I was just kind of talking story ideas with him, and he's like, "Oh, we got to turn that into a comic book." So that's where I went in, researched how to write a comic script, realized there is no way to write a comic script. Just do what you like and make sure your artist can actually understand what you need them to do. And there's a comic script. So it was around 2019 and 2018 that I started adapting everything. And then 2019, it actually got put.
Nice. And you guys might not know this, but Ed is not just a comic book creator. He also runs marathons. So this is where the Finish Line Comics name comes from.
Yeah,
so,
and that's where the skeletonized version of me, and I had it in a outfit that I wore when I did a race that was a relay race, but I ended up running 48 miles in the relay race. And that basically sums up my feelings at that finish line, because one of our runners, it was a relay with a team of 6, but one of the runners got sick, so I ended up picking up her mileage, and that describes my feeling. It's like I was getting that across the finish line, and people are like, "You can do it." I'm like, "Fuck off! I am gonna die."
Yeah, if you see me running, it's because of one of your characters is chasing me, Ed. I'm telling you right now.
You could have cameos with some of those crazy runners, those 100-mile ultra marathon types, the Goggins of the world. You can easily take their concept of what it means to be immortal.
They can fit in somehow. That'd be fun to incorporate some. Yeah.
But that's incredible.
The one after kind of takes us out.
I have a question. Have you done any of the theme?
We might actually see that. The free runners or something.
What was you saying, John?
I said, have you done any of those themed marathons? I did the Batman 5K, and then there was I think they did a Wonder Woman 5K, and it's a bit
Star Wars
shorter than your larger marathons. It sounds, but in LA,
I've done when Disneyland was doing them. I did the Star Wars races and the Avengers races. And they had those set up where you could do the 5K, the 10K, and the half, and you do all 3 and you get a special medal and all that kind of stuff. So I did those ones, and then I did the Disney World, the Dopey Challenge, where you run the 5K, the 10K, the half, and the full 4 days in a row. So I've done some of those ones, and they're fun medals. I mean, Disney goes all out with their medals. So, your Star Wars medals are cool spinny medals, and you're basically spending all that money so you can get the cool medal and the cool Star Wars running T-shirt.
Now, do you got a cosplay for all those or what?
Some people do. If I'm doing a marathon or a half marathon, I'm not cosplaying. I have a shirt with a little cape. That's about as far as cosplaying as I'll go. There's people that are walking and having a good time and they're all decked out, but once I get out there, the theme just kind of disappears from my head and I get locked in of like, all right, I got to pass this many people. So the competitive switch flicks on and the nerd switch turns off. So I haven't actually done any of that.
I have a friend that lives in LA also, and he does those Star Wars marathon things, and he cosplays as Luke Skywalker. That's the
okay.
And so when he does the races, he dresses like Luke Skywalker in Dagobah when he's training, and he has a Yoda backpack that he wears.
Oh, that's so cool.
So he looks like Luke when he's training on Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, that's a way to do it. You could find a way to get that in decent material so you won't just sweat to death. Because
it's just like a T-shirt, like that undershirt that Luke wears,
like and military pants.
Yeah, and there's military pants in the backpack, and so he isn't too.
At the Batman. I filmed a guy obviously cosplaying as Batman chasing Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn in cosplay, and I'm like, this is great. I can do this all day until like the old school Joker, Cesar Romero, passed me. And I'm like, I can't let old Joker pass me. I have to at least be better than that. You know what I mean?
I got to find out. Like, this guy, with his painted mustache.
The painted mustache Joker will not beat me.
Will not beat me.
Yeah. For me, it was this dude running in blue jeans, and he was a fast guy. And I'm like, I will not get beat by blue jean guy. Like, we're doing a full 26 miles, and this dude's just cruising in his tight ass blue jeans, and it's like, I can't get beat by this guy. It would bring shame to my full family.
Yeah, blue jeans are terrible. Not exactly running material.
I think in the chafing when he was done with that,
Was the gamma radiation supposed to kick in at some point? Was what he was hoping. And like
they were going to rip off soon. I guess
storks?
It never kicked in. He never got mad enough to Hulk out. But yeah, he ended up beating me because I'm like, I'm going to end up killing myself to try to beat Blue Jean guy. And finally, I realized, there's still 18 miles of this race, and I've been chasing down Blue Jean guy for 8 miles. It's not going to work out.
It was really spandex.
I have a question about the comic book really fast. If somebody like Marvel or DC or any money whatsoever came along and said, hey, we want more of these faster, would that be a problem? Would you?
I mean, if I could do that, because the thing is, when I do writing now, it's how I can squeeze writing around my work schedule. So if they came in and said, here's the money, now you can stay home and your job is now to write, then I could do that. I'm not thinking, okay, I have to keep the day job so I can actually pay my bills, because the books reached a point where it's not losing me money, but it's not getting me money either. It's at that break-even point, which in indie comics, that's a massive win. Yeah. But if a bigger company came in and said, look, we want all 30 issues that you could conceivably do, and we want them on a fast schedule, as long as they're telling me that, hey, my mortgage is going to still get paid every month and we're not going to be worried about what we're eating, then I'm definitely in. It's just right now you do it, well, like, okay, how can I squeeze in a little bit of writing here and there? Okay, kids are asleep. Let me get in, the last hour before I collapse to try to write a little bit more. So, yeah, I'd love to have someone come in and say, hey, don't worry about the bills. You just do that writing.
Would you change up anything with that?
Yeah, those other guys, they're spoiled.
Yeah.
I mean, change up anything? If they backed your project, would you change anything about it?
I mean, that would be the hard thing, because I have a vision, and I can't imagine Marvel getting on board for the level of blood that I have out there in the book. I mean, maybe Image or something would be fine with it, because Image can kind of do those stories. But Marvel and DC, I guess, like the Vertigo line would have been the way they would have done it in the past, because you look at the kind of stuff Preacher got away with when it was running. So they've run uncompromised stories, but my fear would be they would come in and be like, here, do this, change this character, change that character. But, if the pile of money was big enough, I don't know. I can't say what I would do because I'd like to say like I'm not going to sell out. I'm going to stick to my morals. But when the truck's backing up to the driveway, it's like, all right, the money truck's pulling in, morals go away.
Are you reading any
well, the
current
other thing
comics?
with like these comics is often they're yeah.
All right.
I mean,
Say again.
Okay. Are you reading any current comics?
I am, but what I read more than anything are just people's Kickstarter books. I back so many different Kickstarters that I just filled my first long box of all Kickstarter books, and I'm like midway through the second. So I read those. I mean, there's all the Sandman universe stuff, and I'm still a sucker for that. It's not on Neil Gaiman's level, but I still enjoy reading that. And basically, I still like to go into the comic shop and ask the owner, like, hey, what's good? What's the books I need to take home today? So I try to read what's going on currently. And, I still have a small pull list of stuff that I get. But more than anything, it's just, boxes coming in the mail of new indie comics that I'm reading.
Well, we have a book that we all here can tell you to read. It came out a few weeks ago from Boom. It's called Grimm.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah. So we all agree on Grimm. So you need to look that up. It's from Boom. It came out like three weeks ago, maybe.
Okay, yeah, I'll check that one out because I'm doing a comic shop signing this weekend. So I'll tell him, all right, I need Boom. Give me a Boom,
Grimm.
Boom before
I
leave.
Grimm.
Or what is it? Grimm
Grimm
by Boom.
It might not be there.
Yeah, but
it could be sold out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's talk of the town. I don't know.
It's Boom, so it's not usually carried by everybody, but
yeah,
you can find it.
He's pretty good about stocking the indie stuff. Whenever I go in, that he always has a lot, but it could have sold out by now too, because just because he stocks it doesn't mean he overwhelmed the shelf with it. Probably grab 5 copies or something.
But it's definitely worth it. That was our consensus book from our first.
Oh,
I'll check that one out, one way or the other. Hopefully, he's got a copy to make my life easy.
I was gonna say, would you like to see it as a movie or a TV series? The way the Immortal plays out, or do you think it's exclusively in comic book form in your opinion?
I think it could be good as a series because I think it, with the ongoing nature of the story, it would work like that. But if a movie was done right, you could do a few story arcs into one movie. The fear would be that they do that thing whenever they get something long and they try to squish it all in. So they're like, all right, here's all this material. We're going to squish it into 90 minutes. And people just, then you read the criticisms of it and you're like, it makes no sense.
The Dark Tower. What?
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't even get me started on that one. And I love how Stephen King will still rip on The Shining, but say that he really endorses the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Like, wait, they may have changed things in The Shining and it wasn't your original vision, but that Dark Tower thing, oh my gosh,
was terrible.
Yeah,
it was. If you ever read the books, you don't want to see that movie.
Yeah, and he was. I mean, that was his way to launch his whole franchise.
Yeah,
and it could have been sequels. And I know they were talking about
a show,
putting it into like part of it would have been through Amazon or something like that, and it was going to be
what's his name,
telling all the tale. And then they botched it so bad that it's like, all right, forget it. It's all
Fred
dead.
Darabont,
Frank Darabont,
yeah. He was supposed to make the show, and he had it all planned out and how they were going to do it, and but then the movie tanked, so that was like
they're not going to throw any more money at it.
I was like, that show would have been so awesome.
Maybe one day they'll get it right. And I don't even think they cast it wrong. They just wrote it wrong. I mean,
they tried to shove too many things and put them all out of order.
Yeah, you get like 4 books worth of stuff all shrunk down to 90 minutes, and none of it. If you hadn't read the books, it makes no sense. Even if you had read the books, it makes no sense. But I'm trying to explain it to my wife because I took her. I was so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, Dark Tower. I've read the series so many times. I can't wait for this. And she's asking me like, all right, well, what about this and this? I'm like, I don't even know.
You don't even have the most important part of the book series isn't even there. The Calling of the Three. Like,
yeah.
That's like, whatever.
Yeah. So that would be my fear, but it's one of those things where if you do sell it, then you have to kind of separate yourself from it, because it could end up amazing, it could end up terrible, and you're going to get a writer's room of people that have all these ideas to throw at it, and you just hope that they maintain enough of your vision that you can still see it in there and still love it. But if they don't, then you still always have the books. So it'd be fun to see what other creators would do with it, but hope that they don't whole series.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for coming on the show, Ed. You said that issue 7 is going to be on Kickstarter in August.
August is the goal. Yeah. I just talked with the colorist today, and she's got a deadline of August 1st to get all the colors done, and said it shouldn't be a problem. So we're going to get issue 7 and the trade out at the same time. So right now we're working on the trade, and it's going to be expanded. I wrote an entire epilogue that wasn't in the main one, so that way readers get something new. And then also some expanded battle scenes. So it'll be about 10 pages longer for issue 6 for the trade. And then for people that are like, you know what, throw them online. I'll do something like that for people who want to read it and don't have to buy the trade. But issue 7 will be at the same time, because I want to keep it so the readers don't have to wait around for trades.
Yeah. Well, definitely we'll get you on the Friday show once your Kickstarter launches. Get you on there with me and Katrina, help get that thing funded. If somebody wants these books, issues 1 through 6, how can they go about getting them from you?
If you go to my website, finishlinecomics.com, I have a web store there. And at this point, issues 1 through 5 are available. I don't have 6 on the web store yet because I need to fulfill all the Kickstarter backers first. But 1 through 5 are there. And if you just sent me a note saying, hey, I really want 6 too, I could find a way to get that in there. But right now, the main priority is just boxing and shipping. Just, 120 packages to send out. And I'm just sitting here like, all right, I have my little system where it's like, okay, you get 1 magnet, you get 2 magnets, you get a pin, and it's just like stuffing them all into envelopes. So
yeah.
And then I even got a little coloring book for the backers this time. So
nice.
Fun little things. I figure if I make extra money, then my backers get extra stuff, because nothing irritates me more than when you see a campaign pull $30,000 or $40,000 and you get nothing in there but the one book you bought.
Yeah.
Thinking at least throw me a sticker or something. And then you get those ones where they make $30,000 or $40,000 and the envelope's just overflowing with stuff. Yeah. So I can't be quite on that level, but I want to be kind of the medium between those ones that give you nothing and the ones that spent all their money buying you cool stretch goals.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh yeah,
I give away too many stretch goals.
I figured my backers will be happy because they know they're going to get a loaded envelope whenever they buy one of my books. You pay $10 for the book. That includes the shipping, and then you get an envelope full of magnets and stickers and pins and all that good stuff.
Very good, very good. Well, again, thanks for stopping
by
the show.
That's such a great gift.
Yeah, and we love that. We love the series so far. Can't wait to definitely go to back that so I can get the physicals, because I've had all the digital,
all the digital ones. Yeah.
So, but I'm a physical person. I don't know if
me too. I always pay for the physical unless the shipping's going to cost me way too much.
Yeah.
When you're coming from a different country, but I just bought one that came from Australia because, I won't read the digital copies unless something like this. If I was going on a show and someone had a book that I wanted to read first, but 90% of the time I'm going to buy that physical copy so I can actually sit there and read it in hand.
Yeah. Because for us, it's digital's work, so I can share them with everybody in the show.
Yeah, it makes it easy.
So, because I just did a con this past weekend, and a bunch of guys give me their books because they want to be on the show, and I'm like, well, this is great. Now, how can I get them to everybody else to read them? Like,
yeah,
I have copies of them, but how can I get them out to everybody else? So,
yeah, digital's way easier to share around for sure.
Yeah. But again, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Wish you luck for going forward, and any more races you have coming up? Hopefully, no more 48-mile.
I don't have anything planned right now because summer training is the worst. So my next one won't be till November, and it's Big Bear to Redlands. So I'll probably do that one again. I ran it last year, and I was a pace leader, so I was helping people get a Boston qualifying pace for their marathon. So that was fun, just watching the excitement of people when we got to that finish line, and then them knowing that they qualified so they can actually run Boston. So I think that's something I'll definitely do again this year.
Nice. Well, again, thanks for coming on. Any other last questions for Ed before we let him go? Going once,
Nope.
Going twice. All right, Ed. Thanks for coming on and hanging out with us here
Thank you
on
so
the
much.
Comic Book Geeks podcast. You have a good night.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye. And that was Ed Davis with his book, Immortal Era. You can find that on his website at www.finishlinecomics.com. Whenever we lost John somehow. I don't know. He can John, you left and it like threw me all off.
I'm so sorry.
You blink out. I was like, what happened? But
my Wi-Fi just decided to take a shit. I am so sorry.
I know all about that too well. So is there any other topics we wanted to touch on tonight before we say goodnight? I don't know if anything that you have read.
I got two.
All right.
First, the X-Men book we read. I feel which one we read? We read 11 and Red, right?
No, we didn't read Red. X-Men 11 was the one that I had picked for last week for me to review.
With Sinister at the end of it.
Was what?
With Sinister. He was
yeah. When he breaks them. Now we just spoiled it for people.
Well, they don't know what we're talking about. But
that was I'm like, what? Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not liking Cyclops. Like I'm ready for that whole.
You don't like Captain Krakoa?
Yeah, I'm ready for that story on the end. Like it's to the point now they just kind of forgot where they was going with it. So like,
the one thing I will admit, I haven't been like I'm a lifelong X-Men fan. Chris Claremont's like my god, and I'm not a Hitchman fan at all. I can't stand him. I think every time he comes into a thing and tries to change it, he makes it worse.
Oh, he's one of my favorites.
Really?
Yeah.
He comes in and he thinks he's like, I'm just gonna forget everything that happened before, like he did with the Avengers, and he totally like changes the Avengers. And
he got me on Fantastic Four. That's when I discovered him.
But and he's so good at he's the one who started putting all those pages that you actually have to read in the X-Men books. But
I don't read them.
Some of them are good though. They add a little bit to the story that you wouldn't realize. But
when they do like the police dialogue, like they're like it looks like it's like a comment section from a podcast for a second.
Yeah.
Some of it's kind of interesting. I did read a couple like that, but then otherwise I'm like, are we just lazy over there? You have the money to animate this. Why do I have to read a whole little comment section fitted into the book? So I kind of agree.
But I do like the long story, like the long game of this story with Okris or whatever it's called. Like that story's been going on for almost 4 years now. And we know how it ends pretty much, because we've seen it. The very first thing that, the first little thing that introduces us back into the X-Men universe, where they show the future, where Okris is taking over and machines are ruling the world.
Oh, with the Chimeras.
Yeah. So, but it's a nice, drawn out, long story. Okay, are we ever going to find the end of this, or what's
I feel like that's how Future State should have been. We know the ending in Future State. Now DC supposed to move like X-Men is doing, but they're not doing it.
Yeah, but that revelation of it being a Sinister, but not
D.
Mr. Yeah, it's not the Sinister, because he's He's got
what
that
got me, I wonder
spade on his head.
How old is he? Like,
Yeah, I don't.
Like,
He's like, should I know you or something?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Totally separate from this. And then the second thing that you wanted to talk about, Specs. Marvel's Runaways keeps popping up on my Hulu to watch. Do I need to watch that to stay with the MCU? Is it part of it?
No, I liked it. You didn't like it? I liked it.
Man. When they did that back-to-back episode, when it was like 3 episodes of the same episode but different point of views,
yes,
I watching it.
Yeah.
No, I only watched 1.5 seasons, but I liked the first season.
I mean, there's 3 seasons, so I thought they might have some tie-ins, but it's totally
yeah. There was 3. And a show I, for some reason, started thinking about today was The Gifted.
I like The Gifted.
I like The Gifted.
Yeah. I think it's because I was looking, because I need to get New Mutants yet, so I have all my Fox X-Men movies.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, I was like, I wonder if they ever made The Gifted on like Blu-ray or DVD, if they ever released it.
It's not even.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they did.
Because I mean, you can watch it on Hulu, but I would like to see if I can find the series on DVD or whatever, because I liked it. Of course,
I like the casting too. The Gifted was actually really well done.
Until they ended on that cliffhanger where.
And then what?
Yeah, it's like, okay, she comes back through the portal and takes him, and where did she go? What happens? But I like how they actually, say that she's Magneto's daughter, and they mention Magneto and Xavier and all that. So it wasn't like maybe it's the X-Men universe, maybe it's not.
Well, I mean, the creator said it takes place. I forgot what timeline he said, but it takes place in one of them weird timelines. But he wasn't allowed to talk about it, so it's like one of the movies that Wolverine had.
It's in the Logan timeline. It's supposed to be in the Logan timeline. I thought, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Because that makes sense. Because that's like before it, But.
Yeah. Yeah, because the X-Men are all gone and everything. So, all right. And what was the second?
Kenobi. What y'all think about Kenobi so far?
Oh yeah.
See, now this is, I don't know. Like I'm a big Star Wars geek, but I always go with the thing because I grew up watching crappy stuff. Like when they put out geek stuff when I was growing up, we had to live through that. Captain America with a motorcycle helmet. That's all I got to say. So anytime I see anything like new, I'm like, oh, it's great. I like this. I did like it, but when I was watching today's, I just noticed they're using the same story formula over and over in these episodes. Like
Disney wise?
No. Like, okay, last week's episode, he saves Leia. And then they're trying to escape off of that planet. Something happens. He makes her go off by herself so he can save her. And then she gets captured. And then this week, he goes back and saves her. He's fighting them off. He makes her go off by herself. It's like, you just did this last week and it didn't work. Why are you doing it again? It's
sounds like the animated series.
They're using the same thing. And I love the girl who plays Leia, but I'm done with her now. We need to move this.
Now, how do y'all feel about the bait and switch? Like, how you thought it was gonna be Luke, now it's Leia. Like,
you don't know that they do that because they still have some episodes left. They could very much him go back to Tatooine and then do something with Luke. I didn't expect either kid to really be in it, to tell you the truth. Like, you saw that part where he's looking through binoculars and saw Luke. I figured that was going to be the extent of it, like that, because he doesn't really have any interaction with Luke when Luke's a kid. Because that's why he doesn't know who Ben is.
Mm-hmm.
When
I like it how it's explaining why she sent R2-D2 to find Kenobi.
Yeah, because the part where she says, Obi Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. So that's how she knows that he's the only one that can help her.
Yeah. So I wonder how they're gonna fit Maul in this show.
Did they say they were going to?
I think he did. I think he is in the show.
I don't know because it's not the same guy playing him, so it'd be stupid.
You sure?
Yeah, because I know Ray Park, and he's not.
Oh, so he's not. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
But of course,
I thought they had moment with him in one of the movies at the end, like
it was
Rogue One.
No,
like he was going to come back or something.
Solo?
Yeah, it was at the end of Solo.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's the leader of.
But I guess not.
Yeah, well, because they never made a
Darth
sequel
Maul.
to Solo. So.
But I thought he was recently training for this role, though. That's why I thought he was getting ready to.
Well, they haven't made a sequel to Solo, and they don't know if they are or not. So
Lando,
but that's the TV show. But we don't know if that's going to be in that same. Who knows? But all right. Tomorrow I will post up our books for next week because I don't have a list yet. What books I'll have. So I'll go ahead and post that up tomorrow. Next week's guest, we actually have 2 guests joining us next week. Let me find Kurt Belcher and Bobby Smith will be here, and they are not here to promote a comic book. They're actually here to talk about a movie that they're going to have on Indiegogo called Spread Pigs to the Slaughter. So it's a horror movie that they are going to have on Indiegogo. They're making the movie one way or another. They're just trying to get some extra funding for it. So they're going to come on and talk about making a horror movie. So that'll be a different. I'll share the link to the Indiegogo so you guys can read up on it and see what's going on with that. And it'll give us something different to talk about next week than just comic books. So,
okay.
We'll go counterclockwise this time. So we'll start down with Jonathan. Let everyone know where they can find you on the intermic webs. Or not. I see your fans going, but I can't hear you.
Oh, all right. Well, you can follow me at Jonathan_Freeman_Anderson. Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
All right. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Jonathan_Freeman_Anderson. And then, are we good?
Yep.
No, still can't hear me.
Yeah,
you're just.
It's okay. Choppy. You can find me later.
All right. And how about you, Specs?
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say otherwise.
Oh,
still choppy?
Yeah, it's choppy. El Chapo. We'll come back to you.
But yeah, you can find me in social media at Specs706 and follow me on TikTok or anything you want to find out about my comic book, Legacy to View, at Legacy View and LegacyView.com.
All right. And Philip and his cat.
Yeah. Well, she's very needy right now. She actually had kittens just last night.
Oh.
And she wants me to go back there. Well, she wants me to go back there and help protect them. That's what we've been doing for the past 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I'll be going back there shortly. But you can find me on Facebook, Phil Locklear. You can find darkenterprises.com. Look us up there. That has all the different links on there as well. And be looking for some comic reviews that I'll be doing, that I'll be recording and then putting out weekly. But they're going to be done a little bit differently. Reviews that I'll be doing won't be like this exactly. They're going to be more of the I'll actually read them in character, which can be very interesting with some of these that I'm getting in.
Cool.
But it's going to be just quick, like 1 or 2 pages type thing in character. Have some fun with it, give it a review, and see what happens. Just having some fun with the situation on that. But that's where I'll be. That's what I'll be doing, and be looking for some other things we'll be working on. But we're working on some big things with the business. We are completely hush-hush about all that right now because there's some big things going on. But you won't know about that probably until the end of the year. We'll be looking at giving that information away. But if everything goes according to plan, we're going to be having a lot of fun. We'll put it that way.
Nice. Can't wait to see what's going on there with Demon Phil. All right. And you can find me on Instagram at hooligan_alley. And I am on Twitter at JWSims34. And I'm hoping this week I can get my stuff together and we can actually get the show's stuff together to get the show Twitter and all that good stuff set up so people can actually go right to the show page. And like I said, next week we have Kurt Belcher and Bobby Smith, who will be our guests, and they'll be talking about their film Spread: Pigs to Slaughter. And so just we're live on Wednesday nights here on Facebook and YouTube, and you can find us Thursday mornings on iTunes, all those places you can download your podcast. So be sure you download, like, and share, and hopefully you have some fun this week. Like I said, I'll let everyone know what books we're reading next week, tomorrow, when I get my list, and have fun.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
See ya.